Admiral Zeth Kalar stood in the center of the Great Hall on Nexus Prime Station. His 4 eyes moved across the gathered alien representatives. Each species had sent their best leaders to this emergency meeting. The Vorthan Admiral's blue skin showed patches of darker color. This meant he was very worried. 3 days ago, something impossible had happened. Every human ship in deep space had vanished at the same moment. Over 200 vessels had simply disappeared from all sensors. Across the galaxy, no explosions, no distress signals, no wreckage. They were just gone. Captain Lisa Grant sat in her command chair aboard the UES Defender. Her ship was one of only 12 human vessels that had not disappeared. The Defender had been in Earth's solar system getting repairs when it happened. Lisa watched the alien ships gathering outside Earth's space. More arrived every hour. She turned to her communications officer. "Any word from the fleet?" "Nothing, Captain." Still complete silence from all missing ships. Lisa felt a cold fear in her stomach. Her brother commanded one of those missing ships. The UE's Thunder had been on patrol near the outer rim when everything went wrong. Now there was no trace that it had ever existed. Commander Jake Morrison walked through the corridors of Nexus Prime Station. Alien beings stepped aside as he passed. Some stared with their various eyes. Others made clicking sounds with their mouths. Jake had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years. He had never seen the aliens act this way before. He entered the council chamber where Counselor Veltar was speaking. The crystal being's body glowed with angry red light. "The humans have deceived us all. They have developed some new technology. They hide their entire fleet from our sensors." Other council members made sounds of agreement. The Corvin delegate pounded his clawed fist on the table. "This is an act of war. They plan to attack us when we cannot see them coming." Jake stepped forward. "Honored counselors, Earth had no part in this disappearance. We are as confused as you are." Veltar's crystal body flashed brighter. "You expect us to believe that humans lost their entire military force by accident?" "We are telling the truth," Jake said. "Our ships are gone. We don't know where they went or how it happened." The Zephyrian trade representative stood up. Her green tentacles waved in the air. "If humans can make ships invisible, what stops them from attacking our worlds? We cannot defend against enemies we cannot see." Jake tried to stay calm, but his hands were shaking. The aliens did not believe him. They thought Earth had planned this disappearance. They thought it was some kind of trick to gain an advantage in galactic politics. On Earth, Admiral Susan Blake stood in the command center of Space Defense Headquarters. Dozens of officers worked at computer stations around her. Large screens showed the positions of alien fleets gathering near Earth's borders. "Report," she said to Colonel Ryan Cooper. "Ma'am, we've tried every communication method we know. No response from any missing vessel. It's like they never existed." Susan looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed alien military ships. There were more each hour. "How many species have sent fleets?" 17 so far. "The Vorthans have 3 battle groups. The Corvins are moving their entire home fleet this way." Dr. Peter Knox entered the command center. He carried a data pad filled with numbers and charts. Peter ran the Advanced Physics Institute. If anyone could explain what happened, it would be him. "Admiral, I've analyzed the last transmissions from our ships," he said. "What did you find?" Peter's face was pale. Strange energy readings appeared just before each ship vanished. The patterns don't match any known technology. "Are you saying something attacked our fleet?" "I'm saying something interacted with our ships using physics we don't understand." Susan felt her heart beating faster. Could the aliens have done this? No, ma'am. This is beyond anything in the galactic database. The energy signatures are completely unknown. Across the galaxy, Panic spread through many worlds. On the trading planet Mercatus, shops began closing as merchants feared human raids. The Crystalline Collective recalled all their exploration ships to defend their core systems. Even the peaceful, gentle ones started building defense platforms around their homeworld. Captain Ben Carter commanded the UES Explorer, one of the few human ships still in known space. His wife Kelly had been aboard the missing UES Horizon. Ben led a small group of ships to search the areas where the fleet had last been seen. "Anything on sensors?" he asked his science officer. "Sir, I'm reading some unusual readings where the Horizon's patrol route was. The space here feels different somehow." "Different how?" "The fabric of space-time shows distortion patterns. It's like something very powerful was here recently." Ben stared out at the empty space where his wife's ship should have been. "Keep scanning. There has to be something." Lieutenant Sam Wright worked in the physics lab on Luna Base. She studied the quantum signatures that Dr. Knox had discovered. Sam had written her doctoral thesis on dimensional physics. The numbers she saw made no sense according to normal science. "These readings suggest a massive space-time manipulation," she told her research team. "Something tore holes in reality itself. Could humans have developed this technology in secret?" Asked her assistant. "Not possible. This would require energy levels equal to a small star. We don't have anything close to that kind of power." Sam looked at the data again. The energy patterns reminded her of theoretical models for interdimensional rifts. If someone had opened doorways to other realities, that could explain how the ships vanished so completely. Back on Nexus Prime, the emergency session continued. More alien species sent representatives each hour. Fear had replaced the usual diplomatic politeness. Species that had been enemies for centuries now worked together against the perceived human threat. Admiral Zeth Kalar called for order. "The evidence is clear. Humanity has gained the ability to hide their military forces. They could strike any world without warning." Jake Morrison stood up again. "Please, honored counselors, give us time to investigate. We want to find our missing people as much as you want answers." "Time?" Veltar's crystal body pulsed with angry light. "Time for you to position your invisible fleet for attacks?" "We think not." The Corvin delegate spoke in his harsh voice. "We demand that humans surrender this cloaking technology immediately. If you refuse, we will consider it an act of war against all galactic civilization." Jake felt the situation spinning. Out of control. Earth had no cloaking technology to surrender. The missing fleet was not hiding somewhere waiting to attack. The ships were simply gone. But the aliens would not believe this simple truth. 3 battle fleets moved toward Earth's solar system. The Vorthan Empire sent their most powerful dreadnoughts. The Corvin Republic dispatched their assault carriers. Even the normally peaceful Zephyrian Union armed their trading vessels and joined the growing armada. Admiral Blake watched the approaching alien forces on her tactical displays. Earth's remaining ships could not hope to defend against so many enemies. The missing fleet had been Earth's main military force. Now they faced possible war with only a handful of vessels. "How long until the first alien ships reach our outer defense perimeter?" she asked. 18 hours, ma'am," Colonel Cooper replied. Susan made a difficult decision. "Begin evacuation of non-essential personnel from all outer colonies. Pull back our remaining ships to defend Earth itself." Dr. Knox continued studying the energy signatures. Each analysis revealed more impossible physics. Whatever had taken the human fleet possessed technology far beyond anything known to galactic science. The implications terrified him. If something that powerful existed in the universe, no species was safe. The first alien scouts entered Earth's solar system as the crisis entered its 4th day. Humanity's mysterious fleet remained missing. The aliens remained convinced that humans were planning some terrible attack. Neither side understood that they faced a threat far greater than anything they could imagine. The news of Earth's vanishing fleet spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On the trading world of Zephyr Prime, the massive spaceports that usually bustled with ships from hundreds of worlds now stood nearly empty. The Zephyrian Trade Union had closed all shipping routes that passed through human space. No merchant wanted to risk encountering invisible human warships. President Helen Torres sat at the head of the emergency cabinet table in the White House Situation Room. The faces around her showed the strain of 4 sleepless days. General Ryan Cooper had dark circles under his eyes. Secretary of Defense Patricia Hayes kept checking her secure communication device for any word from the missing ships. Status. Report, Helen said in a tired voice. General Cooper cleared his throat. Madam President, we now have confirmation that 43 alien species have mobilized their military forces. The Corvan Republic is moving their entire home defense fleet toward our borders. Intelligence suggests they're planning a preemptive strike. Helen felt a headache building behind her eyes. A preemptive strike against what? We don't have any fleet for them to strike against. They don't believe that, ma'am. From their perspective, we've demonstrated the ability to make over 200 warships completely invisible. They see that as preparation for conquest. Dr. Amy Foster entered the room carrying several data tablets. As head of the Xenobiology Institute, she had spent the last 3 days analyzing intercepted alien communications. Her normally neat appearance was disheveled from working around the clock. Madam President, the situation is worse than we thought, she said. I've been monitoring alien communication networks. At least 12 species are forming a military alliance, specifically to counter what they call the human Phantom Fleet. Phantom Fleet? Helen asked. That's what they're calling our missing ships. They believe we've developed some kind of perfect stealth technology. Some alien military strategists are calling it the most dangerous advancement in galactic warfare history. Helen rubbed her temples. So our missing fleet has become more threatening by being absent than it ever was while present. Exactly. The fear of invisible human dreadnoughts appearing anywhere without warning is driving panic across multiple star systems. Captain Ben. Carter stood on the bridge of the UES Explorer as his small search fleet approached the coordinates where the U's horizon had last been detected. His wife Kelly had been the navigation officer on that ship. They had been married for 12 years. Now she was gone without a trace. Sensors are picking up the same unusual readings as before, reported Lieutenant Commander Lisa Park. Whatever happened here left some kind of signature in space-time itself. Ben stared at the view screen showing empty space. Launch probe clusters. I want detailed scans of every cubic meter in this area. The Explorer's science officer, Dr. Marcus Webb, worked at his station studying the incoming data. Captain, these quantum distortions are unlike anything in our database. The energy levels required to create them would be enormous. Could another species have done this? Not any species we know about. This is technology far beyond current galactic civilization. Ben thought about Kelly. She had been excited about their patrol mission near the outer rim. The Horizon was exploring new trade routes when everything went wrong. Now there was no sign the ship had ever existed except for the families left behind. On the Corvan homeworld, War Marshal Grok Tar addressed the assembled military command. The reptilian leader's scales were dark red with anger. Behind him stood holographic displays showing human space. The humans have played their hand too soon, he said in his harsh voice. They revealed their secret weapon before they were ready to use it. This gives us a chance to strike before they can deploy their invisible fleet. General Vexhar raised one clawed hand. War Marshal, our intelligence suggests the humans genuinely seem confused by their fleet's disappearance. Deception, Groktar. hissed, "Humans are clever. They want us to believe they are innocent while they position their forces for attack. But sir, if they truly have perfect stealth technology, why would they risk revealing it by making their entire fleet disappear at once?" Groktar's eyes glowed with suspicion. Perhaps it was a test. Or perhaps they lost control of their new technology. Either way, we cannot allow invisible human ships to threaten Corvin space. Lieutenant Sam Wright worked in her laboratory on Luna Base, surrounded by quantum analysis equipment. The energy signatures from the fleet's disappearance covered her. Screens and complex patterns. She had been studying interdimensional physics for 8 years, but had never seen anything like this. "Computer, compare these energy readings to theoretical models for dimensional rifts," she said. Comparison complete. Energy patterns show 67% correlation with theoretical interdimensional gateway formation. Sam's heart raced. If the readings indicated dimensional rifts, it meant something had opened doorways to other realities. The missing fleet might not be destroyed. They might be somewhere else entirely. She activated her communication system. "Dr. Knox, I need to speak with you immediately." Dr. Peter Knox arrived at Sam's lab within an hour. He studied her data with growing amazement. These patterns suggest massive dimensional manipulation. Something opened holes in the fabric of spacetime itself. Could humans have developed this technology? Absolutely not. The energy requirements would be like harnessing a small star. We're centuries away from anything like this. Sam pointed to specific readings on her screen. "Look at these temporal distortions. They suggest whatever did this exists, partially outside normal time and space." Peter felt a chill run down his spine. If something that advanced is out there, why would it target human ships specifically? On the crystalline world of Velinara, Counselor Veltar communicated with other crystal beings through harmonic frequencies. Their bodies pulsed with different colors as they shared information and emotions. The topic was the same across their entire civilization: the human threat. "The soft beings have gained dangerous power," resonated one elder crystal. "They can make their war machines invisible to all detection." Veltar's body flashed with agreement colors. "We must join with other species to contain this threat. If humans can hide their ships, they can attack our mining colonies without warning. What do the other council species propose?" The Corvins want immediate war. The Vorthans suggest a blockade of human space. The Zephyrians fear for their trade routes. And what do the humans claim? Veltar's crystal form darkened with skepticism. "They say they know nothing about their missing ships. They claim the disappearance was not planned. Do you believe them?" "I believe humans are clever deceivers. This vanishing fleet gives them a powerful advantage. They would be foolish to admit the truth." Captain Tony Miller commanded the UES Pathfinder, another of the few human ships that had not disappeared. His orders were to investigate the quantum anomalies that Dr. Knox had discovered. With him was a joint science team that included Dr. Elena Rodriguez, Earth's top expert on exotic physics. "We're approaching the first anomaly site," reported his navigator. Elena studied her sensor readings. "The distortions are stronger here. Something created a massive disruption in local spacetime." "Are we in any danger?" "I don't think so. The energy discharge was a one-time event, but the effects are still detectable." Tony looked at the readings over Elena's shoulder. "Could this explain what happened to our fleet? If something opened, dimensional rifts large enough to swallow entire ships, yes. But what could do such a thing?" The joint investigation team included scientists from 3 alien species. The Vorthan physicist Kethmer had initially been hostile toward the humans. But as he studied the data, his attitude began to change. "These energy signatures are not from any known technology," he told Elena. "If humans created this, They have made advancements that surpass all galactic civilization combined. We didn't create this, Elena said firmly. We're trying to understand what happened just like you are. Kethmer's 4 eyes studied her carefully. I begin to believe you speak truth. But if humans did not do this, what did? Back on Earth, Admiral Susan Blake received updates from intelligence sources across the galaxy. The news was not good. 3 major alien powers were moving fleets toward human space. Smaller species were arming their defense forces. Even traditionally neutral worlds were choosing sides. How many ships are heading our way? She asked Colonel Cooper. Current count shows over 400 alien vessels converging on our territory. The largest armada assembled in galactic history. Susan studied the tactical displays. Red symbols showed hostile forces approaching from multiple directions. Earth's remaining 12 ships would face impossible odds. Begin evacuation of civilian populations from our outer colonies, she ordered. Pull all remaining military assets back to defend Earth itself. Ma'am, what about our missing fleet? If they return and find us under attack by the entire galaxy? Susan thought about the 200 ships and their crews somewhere in the unknown. If they return, they'll find us fighting for our survival against enemies who think we're the threat. The crisis deepened as more alien species joined the growing coalition against humanity. Fear of invisible human ships drove even peaceful civilizations to prepare for war. Meanwhile, Earth's scientists worked desperately to understand quantum. Signatures that defied all known physics. Something had taken humanity's fleet using technology beyond galactic understanding. The aliens blamed humans for what they couldn't comprehend. Neither side realized they all faced a threat far greater than anything they had ever imagined. Dr. Elena Rodriguez had not slept for 36 hours. Her eyes burned as she stared at the quantum analysis displays in her laboratory aboard the U.E.'s Pathfinder. The energy signatures from the fleet's disappearance showed patterns that made no sense according to known physics. But slowly, a terrifying picture was beginning to emerge. Computer, overlay the energy readings from all disappearance sites, she said. The holographic display showed dozens of locations across the galaxy where human ships had vanished. Each site glowed with the same impossible energy patterns. Elena's hands shook as she realized what she was seeing. The signatures are identical at every location, she whispered. Something coordinated the simultaneous disappearance of our entire fleet. Captain Tony Miller entered the lab carrying coffee and food that Elena had ignored for hours. What have you found? Tony, this wasn't random. Whatever took our ships planned it carefully. The energy discharge happened at exactly the same moment across hundreds of light years. That should be impossible. Nothing can coordinate actions faster than light-speed communication. Elena pointed to specific readings on her display. Unless it exists partially outside normal spacetime. Look at these temporal distortions. They suggest something that can manipulate time itself. Tony felt a cold fear in his stomach. Are you saying something that advanced is out there? I'm saying something that advanced took our entire fleet for reasons we can't understand. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the U.E.'s Pathfinder, the joint investigation team was making their own discoveries. Kethmer, the Vorthan scientist, worked alongside human researchers in an atmosphere of growing cooperation. His initial hostility had faded as the evidence mounted. Dr. Rodriguez, Kethmer called through the communication system. You must see what we have discovered in the galactic archives. Elena hurried to the bridge where Kethmer had accessed the vast historical database maintained by the Galactic Council. On the main screen were records dating back thousands of years. I searched for similar disappearances throughout galactic history, Kethmer explained. What I found disturbs me greatly. The screen showed dozens of incidents across the centuries. The Miran exploration fleet had vanished 3,000 years ago. The entire Kellan Defense Force had disappeared without trace 15 centuries past. More recently, the Thorian Research Division had simply ceased to exist 40 years ago. Every few millennia, fleets or colonies of various species vanish completely, Kethner continued. The pattern repeats across galactic history. Elena studied the records with growing horror. The energy signatures. Are they the same? Where records exist, yes. The same impossible physics. The same coordinated disappearances. Tony realized the implications. Humanity wasn't specifically targeted. We're just the latest victims. Dr. Amy Foster worked in her xenobiology lab on Earth, analyzing the historical data that Kethmer had discovered. As she studied the pattern of disappearances, a theory began forming in her mind. She called Dr. Peter Knox at the Advanced Physics Institute. Peter, I need you to look at something. The species that have disappeared throughout history, they all share certain characteristics. What kind of characteristics? They were all technologically advanced for their time. They were all expanding aggressively into new space. And they were all developing faster than their neighbors. Peter's voice was thoughtful. You think whatever is doing this specifically targets advancing civilizations? I think it collects them, like a scientist collecting specimens. On the alien world of Corvin Prime, War Marshal Groktar received reports from his intelligence network. The new evidence about historical disappearances was spreading rapidly through diplomatic channels. Some of his advisors began questioning the planned attack on Earth. War Marshal, said General Vexar, the historical data suggests humans may be victims rather than aggressors. Groktar's scales darkened with anger. Clever human deception. They plant false evidence to make us doubt. Sir, the records come from our own archives. Humans could not have falsified data that old. Then perhaps humans awakened something ancient. Perhaps their exploration disturbed forces that should have remained sleeping. Vexar considered this possibility. If that is true, then all species face the same threat. Meanwhile, in the interdimensional space where the human fleet had been taken, something extraordinary was happening. The missing ships and their crews found themselves at a vast facility that defied description. Captain Joe Parker of the UES. Thunder stood in what appeared to be a massive chamber with walls that seemed to stretch into infinity. Report, he said to his science officer. Sir, our sensors can't make sense of this place. The physics here don't follow normal rules. Joe looked around at the other human ships floating in the strange space. They were all here. Every missing vessel hung suspended in what looked like a cosmic museum, but they were not alone. Captain, called Lieutenant Dan Clark from the communication station. I'm detecting ships from other species, hundreds of them. Show me. The view screen displayed vessels from dozens of different civilizations. Some designs were unknown to human databases. Others matched historical records of ships that had vanished centuries ago. We're not the first ones brought here, Joe realized. In another part of the facility, Commander Lisa Morgan led a team of human officers exploring their surroundings. They had discovered that they could leave their ships and walk through the strange environment. The air was breathable. Gravity worked normally. But everything else about the place seemed impossible. Look at this, said Chief Petty Officer Sam Davis, pointing to structures that towered above them. Lisa saw buildings or machines that seemed to shift and change as she watched them. They were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Whatever had built this place possessed technology beyond imagination. They encountered other beings, aliens from species they had never seen before. Some had been prisoners here for decades. Others had arrived centuries ago. All had the same story. They had been taken from their ships during routine operations, but an elderly alien with blue skin and 6 arms approached Lisa's group. His name was Velcorin, and he had been here for 40 years. "You are the newest arrivals," he said in accented but understandable English. "The curators brought you here for study." "Curators?" Lisa asked. "The beings who collect us. They are very old. Older than any civilization in the galaxy. They study interesting species." "Study us for what purpose?" Velcorin's expression was sad. "They say they preserve the most fascinating examples of life and culture. But preservation means eternal captivity." Back in normal space, the revelation about the curators was transforming galactic politics. The evidence was undeniable. Ancient entities had been collecting specimens from across the galaxy for millions of years. The alien coalition against humanity began to fracture. Admiral Zeth Kalar addressed an emergency session of the Galactic Council. His 4 eyes showed deep concern. "Fellow counselors, we have made a grave error. The humans are not our enemies. They are fellow victims of a threat we did not know existed." Counselor Veltar's crystal body pulsed with confused colors. "But the human fleet, their technological advancement, was what attracted the curators to them," Zeth Kalar replied. "Just as advancement attracted these entities to other species throughout history." The Corvin delegate stood up. "If this is true, then any of our species could be next." "Exactly. We must unite against this common threat instead of fighting each other." Dr. Eleni Rodriguez and her team made another breakthrough in understanding the curator technology. Working with alien scientists, they discovered that the quantum signatures showed patterns indicating the entities existed partially in normal space. "They're not completely beyond our reach," Elena told the joint research meeting. "They have to maintain some connection to our reality to collect specimens." "Which means we might be able to reach our missing people," added Dr. Knox from Earth. Kethmer studied the data with his 4 eyes. "But the technology required would be enormous. We would need to combine the resources of multiple species." "Then that's what we'll do," Elena said firmly. On Earth, President Helen Torres received updates about the changing galactic situation. The alien fleets approaching human space had stopped their advance. Several species were offering to help. "Search for the missing humans." "Madam President," said General Cooper, "the Vorthan Empire has offered to share their dimensional physics research. The Zephyrian Union wants to provide funding for rescue technology development." Helen felt hope for the first time in days. Former enemies working together to face a common threat. "Yes, ma'am. The discovery of the curators has united the galaxy like nothing in recorded history." Admiral Susan Blake studied the tactical displays. That now showed cooperation instead of conflict. Alien ships that had come to attack were now offering assistance. The crisis that had nearly started a galactic war was becoming the foundation for unprecedented unity. "How long until we can mount?" "A rescue mission?" she asked Dr. Knox. "Weeks at minimum. Possibly months. We're dealing with technology beyond our current understanding. Our people have waited this long. They can wait a little longer." In the interdimensional facility, the human fleet was not sitting idle. Commander Joe Parker had organized secret meetings with officers from other ships. They were planning something that the curators did not expect. "We're not just going to escape," Joe told the gathered captains. "We're going to free everyone." The plan was ambitious beyond belief. But humans had always been known for attempting the impossible. Captain Lisa Morgan crept through the strange corridors of the curator facility with her team of human officers. The walls around them seemed alive, shifting between colors and shapes. That hurt to look at directly. They had been prisoners here for 6 days, but Lisa refused to accept their situation as permanent. "Keep your voices low," she whispered to the officers following her. "We don't know how well the curators can monitor us." Chief Petty Officer Dan Clark carried a makeshift scanner built from salvaged ship components. Captain, I'm reading massive energy sources ahead. The technology here is unlike anything in our databases. Lisa nodded. They were deep in the facility now, far from where the human ships were being held. Around them stretched corridors filled with artifacts from countless civilizations. The curators had been collecting specimens from millions of years. They entered a vast chamber filled with floating displays. Each one showed technology from different species. Some looked familiar from galactic databases. Others were completely alien. Lisa realized they were looking at the preserved knowledge of extinct civilizations. "My God," whispered Lieutenant Amy Foster. "Look at all of this." The displays showed weapons, defensive systems, starship designs, and scientific instruments, far beyond current galactic technology. The curators had not just collected beings. They had preserved the technological achievements of every species they had ever captured. "We need to record everything," Lisa said. "If we escape, this knowledge could revolutionize galactic civilization." Back in the ship-holding area, Admiral Chris Brown was conducting his own investigation. The senior officer among the captured humans had spent days talking with prisoners from other species. Each conversation revealed more about their captors. Vel Corin, the blue-skinned alien who had been here for 40 years, explained what he had learned. The curators are not evil as you understand evil. They genuinely believe they are preserving the most interesting examples of life. Preserving us for what? Chris asked. Study, observation. They want to understand how different species develop and evolve. And they keep us here forever for this study? Velcorin's 6 arms moved in, what might have been a shrug. They do not understand concepts like freedom or choice. To them, we are fascinating specimens that must be protected from extinction. Chris felt anger building inside him. We're not specimens. We're people with lives and families. Yes, but the curators are so old and so advanced that they no longer think like younger species. They see themselves as gardeners preserving rare flowers. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner had gathered intelligence from human officers throughout the fleet. He reported his findings to Admiral Brown in a secure meeting aboard the UES Thunder. "Sir, I've counted over 200 human ships in the facility. All crews are accounted for. No casualties from the transportation process." "What? About the facility's defenses?" "That's where it gets interesting. The curators seem to rely entirely on the impossibility of escape. They don't appear to have guards or security systems as we understand them." Chris considered this information. "They're so confident in their technology that they don't expect resistance." "Exactly, sir, which might give us an advantage." Meanwhile, in normal space, the greatest cooperative scientific effort in galactic history was taking place. Dr. Elena Rodriguez worked aboard a joint research station that had been hastily constructed in neutral space. Scientists from dozens of species labored together to understand curator technology. Dr. Kate Johnson led the human physics team alongside Vorthan researcher Zerolnat. Their task was to reverse engineer the quantum signatures left by the curator transportation system. The energy patterns suggest they create temporary bridges between dimensions. Kate explained to the mixed alien and human audience. Zerolnat's 4 eyes focused on the data displays. But the power requirements are enormous. We would need to generate energy levels equal to a small star. "Not necessarily," said Dr. Peter Knox, participating via communication link from Earth. "If we can match their dimensional frequency instead of overpowering it, we might be able to piggyback on their existing systems." The breakthrough came when a crystalline scientist named Morval discovered harmonic patterns in the quantum signatures. The curators use resonance frequencies to open their dimensional gateways. If we can replicate those frequencies, we can create our own doorways. Back in the facility, Captain Lisa Morgan's team had made an incredible discovery. Hidden among The preserved technologies were weapons and defensive systems from civilizations that had mastered interdimensional physics. The curators had unknowingly preserved the very tools needed to defeat them. "Look at this," Dan Clark said, pointing to a display showing energy weapons beyond anything in current galactic arsenals. This technology could cut through their dimensional barriers. Lisa studied the weapons with growing excitement. "Can we build these?" "With the right materials and enough time, maybe. But we'd need components from dozens of different ships. Then we get them. Start making a list of everything we need." Admiral Chris Brown was developing his own plans. He had secretly contacted every human captain in the facility. They were coordinating through careful meetings that appeared casual to any observers. "We're not just planning to escape," he told the assembled officers. "We're planning to free every species the curators have ever captured." Captain Joe Parker raised his hand. "Sir, that could mean thousands of beings from hundreds of different worlds. Then we free thousands of beings. The curators see us as specimens. We're going to show them what humans do when our freedom is threatened." The plan was incredibly ambitious. The humans would need to secretly build weapons using technology from extinct civilizations. They would need to coordinate with prisoners from dozens of other species. And they would need to do it all without alerting the curators to their activities. Lieutenant Commander Turner organized training sessions disguised as recreational activities. Human officers learned to use unfamiliar alien technologies. They practiced coordinated movements through the facility's complex layout. They prepared for a battle unlike any in galactic history. Meanwhile, the cooperative rescue effort in Normal space was making progress. Admiral Paul Stevens led a combined human-alien fleet to the dimensional anomaly sites. Their ships carried experimental equipment designed to open gateways to the curator facility. "Initial tests show promise," reported Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the research station. "We've managed to create small dimensional rifts using the harmonic frequency method." "How small?" Admiral Stevens asked. "Big enough for a probe." "Not yet big. Enough for ships. Keep working. Our people are counting on us." In the facility, Lisa Morgan's team had successfully built their first interdimensional weapon using salvaged curator technology and designs from extinct civilizations. The device looked like nothing from human engineering, but hummed with barely contained power. "Testing in 3, 2, 1, Dan Clark said as he activated the weapon. A beam of energy unlike anything they had ever seen cut through the facility's strange materials like they were made of paper. The weapon worked perfectly. "We can hurt them," Lisa said with satisfaction. "Now we need to build enough weapons to arm everyone." The human fleet began secretly manufacturing interdimensional weapons and equipment. They worked in shifts with some officers keeping watch while others built the tools of rebellion. The curators, confident in their superiority, noticed nothing unusual. Admiral Brown met with leaders from other captured species. Many had been prisoners for decades or centuries. The idea of escape seemed impossible to them. "You do not understand," said an elderly Thorian who had been captured 40 years ago. "The curators are beyond our ability to resist." "Maybe," Chris replied, "but humans have a saying. We'd rather die free than live as prisoners. And if you fail, the curators may decide we are too dangerous to preserve. Then we better not fail." The alien leaders looked at this human admiral with mixtures of hope and fear. No species had ever attempted to resist the curators. Most had accepted their fate after the first few days of captivity. But humans were different. Even facing impossible odds, they were planning not just to escape, but to free everyone the curators had ever captured. Dr. Kate Johnson and her team achieved another breakthrough when they successfully opened a stable dimensional rift large enough for a person to pass through. The gateway lasted only 3 seconds before collapsing, but it proved the concept worked. "We can reach them," Kate announced to the joint research team. "With enough power and coordination, we can open gateways large enough for entire fleets." The rescue mission entered its final preparation phase. Ships from multiple species gathered at the dimensional anomaly sites. Scientists worked around the clock to perfect their gateway technology. Military officers planned for combat in an environment where normal physics might not apply. Inside the facility, the human rebellion was ready to begin. They had weapons, they had allies, and they had a plan that would either free them all or destroy them in the attempt. Admiral Brown looked at his fellow captains one last time. "In a few hours, we're going to attempt something that no species has ever tried. We're going to fight back against entities older than galactic civilization." "And if we succeed?" asked Captain Parker. "If we succeed, we'll have given the galaxy the greatest gift possible. We'll have proven that no prison is permanent and no captor is unbeatable." The humans prepared for a battle that would determine not just their own fate, but the fate of thousands of beings who had given up hope of ever seeing their homes again. The battle began simultaneously in 2 dimensions. In normal space, Admiral Paul Stevens led the combined galactic fleet toward the dimensional anomaly sites. Ships from 17 different species moved in perfect coordination, their hulls gleaming with experimental equipment designed to tear holes in reality itself. "All ships report ready," announced Captain Lisa Grant from the UES Defender. "Dimensional resonance generators are charged and synchronized. Begin the assault," Stevens ordered. Beams of energy unlike anything previously seen in galactic warfare struck the invisible barriers between dimensions. The space around the fleet erupted in brilliant flashes as reality itself was torn apart. Slowly, massive gateways began forming in the void dot at the same moment. Deep inside the Curator facility, Admiral Chris Brown gave the signal for the human rebellion to begin. 200 human ships suddenly came alive with activity as their crews implemented the plan they had practiced for weeks. "All ships, this is Admiral Brown. Execute Operation Homecoming." Captain Joe Parker fired the first shot from the UES Thunder. The interdimensional weapon they had built using ancient technology struck the facility's energy systems with devastating effect. Alarms that had never sounded in millions of years began wailing throughout the vast prison. The Curators, beings so old and powerful they had forgotten what resistance meant, suddenly found their perfect control challenged by creatures they had dismissed as simple specimens. Captain Lisa Morgan led assault teams through the facility's corridors, carrying weapons that could cut through the Curator's supposedly impenetrable barriers. Behind her came beings from dozens of species, many of whom had been prisoners for centuries. "Keep moving," she shouted as they fought their way toward the facility's central control systems. "We need to reach the core before they can adapt their defenses." The Curators themselves finally appeared to defend their domain. The ancient entities were unlike anything the humans had ever imagined. They seemed to exist partially in multiple dimensions at once, shifting between forms that hurt to perceive directly, but the weapons built from their own preserved technologies could harm them. For the first time in millions of years, the Curators faced beings who could actually fight back. Lieutenant Commander Alex Turner led his team to the power generators that maintained the facility's dimensional barriers. Using knowledge gained from studying extinct civilizations, they began systematically overloading the ancient systems. "Charges placed," reported Chief Dan Clark. "Detonation in 30 seconds." The explosions that followed shook the entire facility. Dimensional barriers that had contained specimens for eons began failing. Throughout the vast prison, gateways started opening that led back to normal space. Admiral Brown fought his way to the facility's central command chamber, where he found something that filled him with both wonder and determination. The Curators had preserved not just beings and technology, but entire databases of knowledge from every civilization they had ever encountered. Commander Parker, he called over the communication system. I'm at the central controls. Initiating total system. Shutdown. Sir, if you do that, you'll free everything they've ever collected. That could mean millions of beings across hundreds of thousands of years. Then, that's what we'll do. No one deserves to be a prisoner, no matter how long they've been captive. Brown's hands moved across controls that responded to his touch despite being designed by entities older than his species. The facility's systems began shutting down in sequence. Throughout the vast prison, containment fields failed and transportation barriers collapsed in normal space. The dimensional gateways suddenly exploded outward as the facility's power systems failed. What had been carefully controlled rifts became massive tears in reality itself. Ships began pouring through from the other dimension. My God, whispered Dr. Elena Rodriguez as she watched the scanners. It's not just our fleet. There are thousands of ships coming through. The human fleet emerged first, their hulls scarred. From battle, but their crews triumphant. Behind them came vessels from every era of galactic history. Ships that had been lost for millennia flew alongside craft from civilizations thought extinct for centuries. Admiral Stevens opened communication channels as the incredible fleet assembled in normal space. Human vessels, this is Admiral Stevens. Report your status. Admiral Brown's voice came through clearly. Admiral Stevens, this is Admiral Brown aboard the U.E.'s Thunder. All human personnel accounted for. We're bringing guests. The guests included representatives from over 300 different species, many of whom had not been seen in the galaxy for thousands of years. Living libraries of lost knowledge and technology that had been preserved by their captors now returned to a galaxy that had forgotten they ever existed. Captain Lisa Morgan stood on the bridge of the U's Valiant, looking out at the incredible sight of the liberated fleet. Navigation. Set course for Earth. I think everyone's going to want to hear this story. But the humans had brought back more than just rescued prisoners. In the final moments before the facility's destruction, they had downloaded the entire Curator database. Millions of years of collected knowledge and technology from across the galaxy was now in human hands. Dr. Kate Johnson analyzed the technological data streaming in from the returning ships. Paul, what we have here will advance galactic civilization by thousands of years. The curators preserved the scientific achievements of every species they ever captured. Admiral Stevens realized the implications. The species that feared humanity's Phantom Fleet will discover that humanity has become something far more significant. We're the liberators of galactic history. The news of the Great Escape spread across the galaxy faster than the returning ships could travel. Species that had mobilized for war against humanity now prepared celebrations instead. The aliens who had feared invisible human dreadnoughts now welcomed them as heroes. On Nexus Prime Station, an emergency session of the Galactic Council convened to address the unprecedented situation. Admiral Zeth Kalar spoke for the assembled representatives. Honored counselors, we face a situation beyond our previous understanding. Humanity has not only rescued their own people, but has liberated thousands of beings from hundreds of worlds. They have returned lost civilizations to the galaxy. Counselor Valtar's crystal body pulsed with amazement. The humans could have simply escaped. Instead, they freed everyone the curators had ever captured. The Corvin delegate stood slowly. War Marshal Grok Tar has asked me to convey the Corvin Republic's deepest apologies to humanity. We feared you when we should have admired your courage. Commander Jake Morrison, Earth's representative, stood to address the Council. Honored counselors, humanity seeks no apologies. We did what any decent species would do when faced with injustice. We acted to free the oppressed. But privately, Jake knew this experience had changed humanity's position in the galaxy forever. They had faced an impossible situation and turned it into victory, not just for themselves, but for countless others. President Helen Torres received reports from the returning fleet as they approached Earth. The stories seemed incredible, but the evidence was undeniable. Human courage and determination had accomplished what no other species had even attempted. "Madam President," reported General Cooper, "the returning fleet carries technology that will revolutionize every aspect of galactic civilization. Medical advances that could eliminate most diseases, energy systems that could power entire worlds, scientific knowledge that could unlock the secrets of the universe itself." Helen thought about the implications. And humanity will share all of this with the galaxy? That's what Admiral Brown recommends. He says the knowledge belongs to all species, not just the ones who helped liberate it. Dr. Amy Foster studied reports from the freed prisoners. Beings who had been thought dead for centuries were now alive and well. Entire languages and cultures that had been lost to history were returning to the galaxy. "This is the greatest archaeological discovery in galactic history," she told her research team. "We're not just getting back our fleet. We're recovering the lost heritage of the entire galaxy." The human ships entered Earth's solar system to find a celebration unlike any in the planet's history. Ships from dozens of species had gathered to welcome home the heroes who had accomplished the impossible. Admiral Susan Blake watched from Earth Defense Headquarters as the fleet took positions around their homeworld. Status report on all returning vessels. All human ships accounted for, ma'am. 0 casualties from the entire operation. Additionally, we're receiving requests from 47 species asking for permission to establish embassies on Earth. Susan smiled for the first time in weeks. "I think we can accommodate them." Captain Ben Carter finally reunited with his wife Kelly aboard the UES Horizon. Their embrace was witnessed by crew members who had thought they would never see their families again. "How did you do it?" Kelly asked. "How did you rescue us when the entire galaxy thought it was impossible?" Ben looked out at the fleet of ships surrounding them. "We remembered something that our captors had forgotten. No prison is permanent as long as free people refuse to accept it." In the months that followed, the galaxy was transformed by the knowledge and technology recovered from the Curator facility. Medical breakthroughs eliminated diseases that had plagued civilizations for millennia. New energy systems provided clean, unlimited power to every world. Scientific advances opened possibilities that had existed only in theory. But perhaps the most significant change was political. The crisis had united species that had been enemies for centuries. The fear of invisible human ships had been replaced by gratitude for human heroism. Dr. Elena Rodriguez addressed the Reformed Galactic Council 6 months after the liberation. "Honored counselors, humanity's fleet did not disappear to demonstrate our power. It vanished to reveal our potential. When faced with impossible circumstances, humans don't just survive. We turn adversity into opportunity for everyone." The council chamber erupted in applause from beings representing hundreds of worlds. The species that had once feared humanity now competed to be their strongest allies. Admiral Brown stood before the memorial wall in Earth Defense Headquarters, looking at the names of every person who had been captured by the curators. Thanks to human determination, every name on that wall had come home safely. Captain Lisa Morgan entered the memorial chamber. "Admiral, the Galactic Liberation Initiative is ready for its first mission. Intelligence suggests there may be other Curator facilities in distant galaxies." Brown nodded. "Then we'll find them, and we'll free everyone inside them." The human fleet that had vanished in mystery returned as the guardians of galactic freedom. They departed Earth once again, but this time they carried the hopes of countless worlds. Their mission was no longer just to defend humanity. They had become the liberators of the universe itself. The galaxy watched as Earth's ships jumped to hyperspace, heading toward distant stars where other prisons might exist. Humanity had learned that freedom was not just a right to be defended, but a gift to be shared with all who yearned for it. In the depths of space, where ancient intelligences might still keep specimens in cosmic zoos, new alarms would one day sound, and beings who had forgotten what hope meant would hear the most terrifying words any captor could face. This is the human liberation fleet. Surrender your prisoners, or we will take them.